For more on the allegations against Brett Kavanaugh, let's bring in Frederick Lawrence, distinguished lecturer at the Georgetown Law Center and secretary and CEO of the Phi Beta Kappa Honor Society. This is going to be, I'm sure, one of the most watched Senate hearings in memory. What do you expect to transpire?
Well, John, I think you're absolutely right that it will be one of the most watched. I think a number of things will transpire, how the questions get asked, the ability of the senators as well as the American public to try to make some kind of assessment of credibility. And I suppose the background question throughout all of this is the question, is this really the best way to try to resolve what at this point looks like a very serious question of credibility, where you have one person saying something happened and another person saying something didn't happen, and both seem to be saying it quite intently.
Yeah, there are, according to the media reports, and again, the original letter that Christine Blasey Ford wrote to Senator Feinstein back in July, that letter has not been seen yet. But the media reports about it suggest that there are 6 individuals who were at that party. The committee has reached out to all 6. Christine Blasey Ford has not yet spoken, although that is supposed to happen on Thursday. Judge Kavanaugh denies the allegations. Then there are 3 other people who say they have no memory of anything like this happening at that party. Basically, they're standing by Kavanaugh. And one woman, a former schoolmate, Christina King Miranda, who said in social media posts that, yeah, she heard rumors of this thing happening. Now she has deleted those posts and she refuses to talk to the committee. So the only person who seems to be saying that this happened is the woman who's making the allegations. How do you prove or disprove what happened in that room 35 years ago?
I think it's very difficult to do it in this kind of setting. This is the reason that a number of people suggested having some kind of offline investigation. The FBI was the one most commonly mentioned as the venue for this. Might have been a better way to talk to some of these other witnesses offline. That's an under oath kind of situation. It's not literally under oath, but there's a requirement that you not make false statements to federal investigators doing a federal investigation. So it would have had the effect of being under oath. It would have had the added advantage of a report that then could have come back to the Senate to give the public some sense of full credibility. You know, John, what I worry about most in this is that when it's all done, whether Brett Kavanaugh is confirmed or whether he's not going to be confirmed, but when it's all done, that we have a Supreme Court with no clouds over any of the justices, because the legitimacy of the court is one of the most important things to our entire system of government.
Sure, and Democrats have said that even if he is confirmed to the Supreme Court, there are some Democratic senators who have publicly said they would pursue impeachment proceedings against him.
Yeah, and I think once that kind of talk happens, that suggests that that we have not come close to finding a way to make this end. And that's what the Senate Judiciary Committee ought to be thinking about, is some kind of a process, either through these hearings or what comes after these hearings, so that whether people are happy or not happy with the outcome, they say, that was a fair process. You know, what had to happen happened, and now we're done. That's got to be the goal here. The Senate always does 2 things when it confirms a Supreme Court justice. The one we always talk about is vetting the president's pick to make sure it's an appropriate pick for the Supreme Court. But there's another equally important piece, which is to maintain the legitimacy of the court. You know, it's a remarkable thing in our country. We take it for granted. But 9 people who don't have the power of the purse, who don't have the power of the military, they make decisions and the entire country follows them. That's because of the legitimacy of the court. That's the genius of the Constitution. So I think that's what's at stake here, and it's terribly important that when this process ends, the legitimacy of the court be maintained and indeed enhanced.
And you would encourage senators of both parties to go along with whatever comes out of this hearing and ultimately the decision on Judge Kavanaugh?
Well, I hope that's right, and I think the fact is we're well down the road of a highly politicized process of appointing justices. I hope there's a way of walking back from that road. That's another conversation for another time. Right now on this one, we've got a very complicated, very difficult situation. I will tell you, I am uncertain that this is going to be the best way of reaching that result, but it does seem to be where we are. So what I'm hoping for is a dignified, decent process on Thursday, and one that when we emerge from it, we have some consensus as to what the truth is here.
To this point, the process has not been particularly dignified. But
well, decent and dignified are not the words that we would look for. That's right. But we should remember to aspire to that. This is the Supreme Court of the United States. It's one of the great legal institutions in the world.
Very good point. Frederick Lawrence, we appreciate your insight. Thank you.
Pleasure being with you, John.